Thank you for tuning in to the Practical Preservation Podcast. Please take a moment to visit our website, practicalpreservationservices.com, for additional information and tips to help you restore your historical home. If you've not done so, please subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, or SoundCloud, and also like us on Facebook. Welcome to the Practical Preservation Podcast, hosted by Danielle and Jonathan Kepperling. Kepperling Preservation Services is a family-owned business based in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, dedicated to the preservation of our built architectural history for today's use as well as future generations. Our weekly podcast provides you with expert advice specific to the unique needs of renovating a historic home, educating by sharing our From the Trenches preservation knowledge and our guests' expertise, balancing modern needs while maintaining the historical significance, character, and beauty of your period home.
Today on the Practical Preservation Podcast, I have Abbie Samson with me from Samson Historical. Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your background.
So my personal background is actually in public relations and cultural communications. So I've always been a big history person, big history fan. But this was something that my husband's family did, and I got into it with him.
Yeah. That's it's funny that we've done these podcasts for like 2 years now, and the amount of people who just kind of came into it, not a very direct way. It wasn't their original plan, but now they're doing it. That's the story more often than not. So you said you were always interested in history. What drew you? Was there something in particular that interests you, or just the study of history?
Sure. So my family is a big family of readers, history buffs in general. So I'd go on trips with my parents and my grandparents to different historical sites. We do a lot of different kind of history tours and things like that. So that was always something that I very much enjoyed. I've always been a big reader as well, and always enjoyed reading about different historical figures and events. So when my husband and I got together, and his family did, they were big reenactors actually. And then they also, with that, I've always done leather drinking vessel reproductions from, they date back to the Middle Ages and up through the very early 19th century. And so to be able to do that kind of hands-on history that had been a part of his life for so long, it was just a perfect fit.
Yeah, that is. We were talking about going on tours and doing like the touristy things that people do related to history. There's a TED Talk. It's probably about 10 years old, from the National Trust, and it's pretty. I call it you don't know you don't know you're a preservationist, but you are, because you're doing all these things to preserve our history and the storytelling, but you wouldn't necessarily put that label on yourself.
Right.
Yeah. So tell me about Samson Historical.
So Samson Historical started out with Casey's grandfather and the leather reproductions, then his father, and then him in 2011. And he and I, since that point, have expanded beyond those leather reproductions into kind of an all-encompassing 18th century reproduction business, which is where our heart really is in 18th century and revolutionary history. So we focus on all of Samson Historical focuses on all the goods. So clothing, kitchen items, daily use items that would have been prevalent in the 18th century. And with that, we supply museums, movie companies, reenactors, different historic sites with those goods.
Yeah, when I was on your website, I was amazed at all the different things that you had. I was even like, you even have like powder to keep bugs away.
And with that, we're working with this amazing young entrepreneur who's local to our area actually, and does an 18th century apothecary. And so she's making all of those items, and we get to work with a bunch of different artisans who specialize in all these different things on top of what we can reproduce ourselves. And so the hunt is super fun to be able to find find new things and find, something that's original that we want to bring back. And that's probably our favorite part.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, is the majority of the people that purchase from you, are they in America, or where, like, do you ship everywhere?
We do ship everywhere. The
Okay.
majority, I would say, are here in the United States. We do have a lot, depending on the year, that go to France or to England or to Germany, actually. It all just kind of depends. There's whenever there's an anniversary somewhere, we get a little uptick, but we do ship mainly here in the United States.
Okay. But I guess the 18th century goods would have been the same here and in Europe. I would assume it's similar, at least.
They'd be very similar.
Yeah.
Availability changed throughout the period, depending on trade embargoes, things like that were all in place. So there are differences in what was produced here and what was produced kind of internationally.
Right.
You have things like block printing, which originated in India, and then later in the century was picked up, in England. But that best quality, those best goods, came out of India, so they were being imported from there. And so it all depends on what the item is. Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I know you touched a little bit on like some of the products that you offer. I was very interested in your book selection, and I wrote down a couple to be added to my to be read list. So I was excited about that. And can you tell me a little bit about the products a little bit more about the products that you offer, and the clothing and some of those things?
Sure. So like you said, you mentioned books. I'm personally a really big reader, so being able to provide those really nice research books is important to me, because that's where a lot of people kind of falter, is this secondhand kind of account. Oh, I was told this was good,
right?
But if we can use that documentation that's in those books to support everything we do, then you can't go wrong. But we have it's hard because we have such a wide array, but we have a men's line and a women's line of 18th century clothing, starting in about 1760s through the 1790s. Our women's clothing actually is getting ready to take another huge step. We have been working with a company called Turkey Roost up till now. Two wonderful ladies, Annie and Verna, mother-daughter, who are retired out of the business. And we're taking over that line of high quality women's jackets and things like that. So our goal when we started carrying clothes and expanded into that was that somebody could walk into our store and walk out completely dressed in 18th century fashion. And I feel like we've done a pretty good job. We're always improving.
Yes. Yeah. I was impressed with the variety of things that you had on your website, and you have all the things that people would need for like doing a reenact, like if they're actually camping out for a reenactment, even cleaning supplies. Like you have everything that somebody would need.
It's that's what keeps it fun, though, is being able to find today we're working on hats, but tomorrow we're working on cutlery and pottery or glassware. We've just got some wonderful wine glasses and things like that. So being able to search all these different facets to really make an all-encompassing kind of outlet for the 18th century is what's also helped us. When we get calls from museums and living history sites saying, we need this, and you can't just dress somebody up and put them in an empty building. You have to be able to furnish them properly. Right. And that's been really fun to find things and to create things that were very prevalent in the period, but they're not here anymore. And to be able to say, here's this is here now, experience this, and then it comes back towards the forefront.
Yeah. Do you notice any, like, I know we kind of talked about like the availability internationally, but do you notice differences in regional availability, or like were there certain things that were prevalent like on the East Coast and maybe the frontier not as much? Or
Sure. So in our period, we focus a lot, and with our personal interests, we focus heavily on the East Coast and into the Midwest. But you do have things that were available, or more widely available, or available sooner is more the case. my personal interest is in clay pipes. And if you look at the kind of the evolution of clay pipes, it's a very interconnected kind of ecosystem. It's you start with the tobacco that can be grown in much bigger quantities here, which leads to bigger pipe bowls. But most of those pipes are coming out of England and Germany because they're not making pipes here. So
Right.
they're trading those back and forth, and this commerce is happening based solely on this cash crop. And so pipes, with that, you have smaller pipes available here for longer, and then into the larger pipes. And again, a lot of that's also with what the I guess the durability of them. So
Right.
you don't have as many of the really long pipes over here because they didn't ship well.
Right.
And they were very expensive. Versus, in England, they would have been a lot easier to go get a tavern pipe at a tavern because it didn't take as long to get them. They didn't have to travel as far, and things like that. So that's availability was also very much class based.
Yeah.
So if you can afford to import it, then you can have the nicer, fancier fashions. But if there are a lot of goods that are imported that were less expensive. For the common people, and you can really see kind of a line for those.
Yeah, and from my world, you see that in the very vernacular houses that were, the tradespeople lived in, and then the big grand houses that everybody thinks of for the museums and things like that. Right. Yeah, so that definitely makes sense to me. I also noticed that you have in your around the house or around the home section that you had like kids' toys and ornaments and different things, even for Christmas. This will air right after Christmas, but I thought that was fun too, that you have, I think it's important to get children interested in history, and you do learn by doing.
Absolutely. And my husband and I have a 6-year-old daughter, Peyton. If you're on our social media, you'll probably see her doing history Peyton videos, which she loves, or she teaches people about different people that she's learning about. Yeah. And so having that line of toys and things that she can experience and play with is very important to us, that she gets that hands-on history. And so, in turn, being able to provide that to other children as well, that's really where your whole interest begins, that spark starts.
Yeah.
The Christmas ornaments and things like that are a little bit later period, 19th century, but we typically, when we think of traditional Christmas today here in America, we actually think of the Dickens style Christmas.
Right. And that's Victorian.
Yeah, it is later than our time period, but having that kind of traditional feel and pulling in both elements it's fun.
Yeah, it is fun. So who are your typical customers?
So that would be a lot of individuals who do personal, like living history and personal interpretations, historic sites, museums, movies, TV shows, cruise lines, things like that. Theaters, it all kind of depends on the time of year, and kind of the general what's going on in the world. But we deal a lot with one-on-one personal reenactors and historians.
Yeah. Okay, very good. And what are some common mistakes people make when shopping for 18th century reproduction products or reenactment supplies?
Anytime you hear the word old timey, that is a bad sign. So we find a lot of people that are getting into this, and they go and they get really excited, and they see something that, great, I want that, I like that. But you really have to kind of decide who you are first. So if you're going into reenacting, who you're going to be.
Yeah.
So for me, I get to be the same person whether I'm out at an event or here. I own a store, and it's been interesting to see as we've grown from when we had our very tiny little wedge tent. We had one table out there, what we were then to what we were now, and how we've progressed and gotten, our personal clothes have gotten nicer. And it's really funny because it follows a very natural progression of how it actually does work. But picking who you are and moving from there. Not everybody wants to be a soldier. Some people do, and that's wonderful. And if that's what you want, then you need to find a unit to help you get what you need. So that overeager kind of jumping in without talking to somebody can be a problem. Now, When people call us and they want to do civilian impressions, that's something I can help with. I can help with dates. I can help with kind of in general regions, what you need for those kind of things. It's when you get into the very detailed military that you have to have somebody help you that specializes in those units.
That makes sense. Yeah. That makes sense. So what trends or challenges do you see?
So we're following a lot of the issues that we see come with supply chain.
Oh yeah.
Right now, just like everybody else. But as far as trends and things like that, we're seeing a really inclusive look at culture now, which is in material culture in the period, which is wonderful. And that's been really exciting to keep up with.
Have you had to change any of your offerings based on that, or?
No, I think because of our approach has always been one that's been holistic.
Right.
We haven't had to change what we do. I think that should be true for anybody. If you're looking at history as a whole, you have to look at it in its entirety, the good, the bad, and kind of the ugly on it, and include all of those things and just be realistic about it.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we've really always tried to be as a company. And then it's really fun when you start kind of watching as far as actual like trends in goods and what's popular, as you kind of watch the conversations. Women's clothing and civilian women's clothing has been exploding lately as far as people's interest, and that comes a lot with we saw it way back when the Patriot came out.
Oh yeah.
Clothing when all of that happened, and so now we had Turn come out and then we had Outlander come out. Well, those are not necessarily historically accurate shows. It gives people a spark to start being interested in what was actually there. So being able to talk to kind of those people that are like, okay, I really like this, but now I want to do it for real.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's kind of the current trend that we see.
Yeah, that I could see that. I know that there was like I could see that, like TV or whatever is happening culturally influencing. I could see that because I sometimes get inspired by things and then I get in the middle of it. I'm like, what was I thinking? So, yeah,
that's something that that's another mistake people make, is they're like, oh, I saw this on.
Right.
It's not usually a good start to a sentence.
Was there anything that you thought of that you wanted to share that I didn't think to ask you, or that you thought of while we were talking before we wrap up?
Just that there's a lot more resources out there than have ever been available to us. So finding those, a lot of bad things happened with COVID, but one of the amazing things that happened was the availability of research collections through museums.
Oh, that's
and being able to search for those things. And if you're really interested in the kind of the guts of history and that true material culture, utilizing those free resources that are out there. And we always try to point people in those directions as well, because we're big nerds, but to utilize those things that are available that have never been available before.
Right.
And if you've been doing this for a long time, if you've been into the history, being able to let go of your preconceived notions, because the connectivity in the world today, we know so many things that we have assumed to be true that are not necessarily the case. And so being able to accept that new research is important.
Yeah, no, I think that's really important. And there's in everything, there is so much more information than probably people generations ago would even imagine, and we just have it, on our phones. So it is a pretty amazing time. So how can someone contact you?
We have a lot of ways to contact us.
Okay.
We have all of our social media. Everything's under Samson Historical. We also have samsonhistorical.com. On there, there is a chat box. There is email. Our phone number's on there. If you call us, you get our staff right here. And so definitely reach out to us via email, phone, or the website is the quickest way to get the best answer.
Okay.
But we do monitor our social media constantly. So if you shoot us a message, we will get back to you as quick as we can.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Practical Preservation Podcast. The resources discussed during this episode are on our website at practicalpreservationservices.com/podcast. If you received value from this episode and know someone else that will get value from it as well, please share it with them. Join us next week for another episode of the Practical Preservation Podcast. For more information on restoring your historic home, visit practicalpreservationservices.com.